Hey, welcome everybody. But first, we actually have a couple of rules that I want to make sure that I bring up and so that you guys know what's going on and how to play our game, the Twitter chat. All right, so the rule number one is actually really easy. It's just use the hashtag Let's Live Stream. You got to use this hashtag because it is a Twitter chat, and if you don't use it, it's really hard for me to be able to see your tweets, be able to retweet it, and things like that. Two, when you guys answer questions in a Twitter chat, if you've never done it before, make sure you use the A and then the number of the question that you're responding to so I know which question you're answering. Super easy. And this way, it lets everybody know what's going on. Now, as we said before, it is a Twitter chat and it's live stream. So we're actually on two platforms. We're on Twitter and we're also live streaming this in Periscope and in our Facebook group. And I really want to make sure that you guys know that. And so you guys can join us with that anytime. And the last one, and this is the part where I actually have to do this too, which is one, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys really do have a good time, whether you're watching or sharing, or if you're watching us on Facebook or Periscope, or if you're in the Twitter chat. Either way, I really hope that you guys are able to enjoy the show. And would you do me a quick favor? Would you quick share the show out? I would really appreciate that. So, just I want to recap the rules really quick today. So the rules very quickly are this: you got to one, you got to use the hashtag Let's Live Stream. It's super important. This way, everybody can actually find you in the Twitter chat while we're doing it. Two, make sure you're using A for an answer. And then the number of the question that you're responding to, so I know actually which question you're talking about. It makes it so much easier for us to have a conversation on Twitter. Rule number three is that this is a Twitter chat and a live stream so that we are able to both communicate on Twitter and in on Periscope and in Facebook because we are a Twitter chat about live streaming. So why not live stream it? And the last one, guys, I hope you learned something. I hope you have fun doing this. And would you do me a quick favor? Just share this out while we get started. How about that, Chris? And with that, I'd actually really like to bring on Chris. Chris, are let's make the magic happen.
Let's
We're
do
gonna
it.
swing it over. Make
Hello.
that over there. Ah, there you are. Hey, Chris, welcome, welcome,
Howdy.
welcome, man. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I apologize to you and your executive producer for jumping on at 2:58 p.m. So sorry about that, but I'm here. Let's do this. It's going to be exciting.
This is great. I'm really excited to have you on. I know you and I we've connected over the past, I want to say about year and a half, probably close to 2 years. Now, when I really thought about it, I was like, I think I've been connected with you, watching you do different stuff for about 2 years now. And I couldn't believe that actually that you hadn't already been on the show to talk about, since you do live streaming, I don't know, pretty much almost every day.
Yeah, no, I haven't been on this iteration of the show. I was a guest quite a while back with Rachel, which was, but I don't think it was like a live video stream at the same time. So, real quick, I love what you guys are doing with this production. Again, my apologies for hyping up the pressure there in the pre-show, but you guys really do a rocking job here. I'm really proud of you, and I'm really, really honored to be here today.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. We actually really do love what we do. I mean, the show is produced by VitMug, and that's kind of all the behind the scenes stuff. But it really just comes down to some really core concepts, which is talk about on Twitter live streaming to people that are interested in it. I mean, it's a really basic concept, and we just thought we would put the Twitter chat with the live stream, and it seems to I think a lot of people really enjoy it. And
Yeah,
yeah, so here, I'm actually looking right over here. I'm trying to make sure I get everybody. There we go. Now I got the right Twitter feed up. There we go. Because I have to actually be able to watch the and catch up with the comments. There we go. Share that. because there was one share that I always have to do. I always have to make sure. And if you guys are out, I do actually see a whole bunch of you guys on the Twitter chat. I mean, on the Periscope. So, guys, thank you so much for being a part of that. I see there's actually a few names I can't even read you guys' names that fast. Chris, this is a Twitter chat, and we've already got one of the questions out there. And the first question that we put out there, and this really kind of hits home for you, I think, right away. It's the
Yep.
first question is, do books really help promote speakers? What do
Yes.
you think?
I don't know if you're going to put my answer up there on the screen as well. But yes, they absolutely do. I think a lot of people get hung up on trying to find a publisher or this is the same philosophy that I have with live streaming in general, right? That people get hung up with perfection and they don't go through and create something. Creating a book and having a book published is something that many, many people think about doing on their bucket list. And it's really special to be able to have one done. So I think in terms of applying for speaking gigs, and especially in terms of people finding you and researching what you do, looking on your website, your Facebook page, your social media channels, when they see that you have a book published, it's a major, major checkbox for you when they're comparing your profile to others, for that speaking gig. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of that straightforward thing, and the reason why I kind of bring it up is I have talked to a good handful of people that are saying, books really they're it's like what newspapers were like 10 years ago. People are still putting them out, people still read them, but not really. I mean, maybe books were something you needed 20 years ago. But don't you, I mean, do you think that things are changing so fast now that books become kind of irrelevant almost as soon as they're printed?
Yeah, it's a great follow-up question. Perfect. So I think that in the world of live streaming, in the world of social media, we develop these relationships with live streamers and broadcasters and personalities in ways that we really want to support them, right? We really want to be able to show our appreciation for what that person or what that brand is about. I think Gary Vaynerchuk is a great embodiment of this, right? That he gives and gives and gives all this value year after year after year. And then every year or so, he'll publish a book and say, you know what? I've jabbed you all year long. Now, if you get this book, yeah, I know that a lot of the stuff that's in the book you can consume online, but the book is a physical representation, and it's really the cleanest, easiest way to support someone, that's not on Busker, you know what I mean? Or you're not just going to PayPal them $10 and say, hey, Merry Christmas, thanks for being a great broadcaster. The book is really a special way, not just to be able to support a broadcaster, but to be able to share these ideas and share what you've learned from a broadcaster with others who may not be as in tune with the live streaming world. So if you're out there collecting stories, or if you're Jen Nelson, you're writing about wine, I know that I can learn about wine by watching Jen, but I can share those experiences better with my extended family, with my friends, and say, you know what, this gal really knows what she's talking about because she's got a book about the subject.
And I think that's really interesting because for a lot of people they come from, if you're writing a book, you're coming from a very traditional background. It's like education, or it's something that's very established. It's not necessarily made a big transition, or they personally haven't made a big transition to some kind of a digital form. But I think for a lot of people that are kind of like, I would say, in the same shoes as you are, in that they didn't have 20 years in corporate, to be able to say, look at me, I'm established, I'm an expert, or at least I'm credentialed. We'll just, I use that word rather than expert, but credentialed. They've got the 20 years of experience, and now they say, you know what, I think it's time that I write a book. Now, everybody writes a different book in the same way that everybody does. They've got their voice, and I don't think that's really the question here. But getting right into question two, I said, in the second question I was going to ask you is that, do you believe that live streaming is the new speaking stage?
Yes. And I think, we talk a lot, Jonathan, about how we're still just scratching the surface of this live streaming thing, right? That we're still on the cutting edge. We're still the pioneers here. This small core group that's watching, probably this Twitter chat/video today, we're all still on the edge of it. So in the years ahead, I think that live streaming is going to become even more of a speaking stage and even more of a platform for people to be able to share their stories, share their messages, inspire, do all these things that a traditional speaker does, when you fly to Las Vegas or San Diego or wherever you're going to go, um, I think more importantly at this stage in 2017, live streaming is a great way to practice your craft. It's a great way if you have a topic that you're proficient in or that you want to demonstrate your expertise. You can use Periscope, you can use Facebook Live, you can use these different platforms to talk about those things in the same way that you would on stage. And set it up. Stand yourself up. Get a microphone. I had a microphone that I was going to try using today, but get a microphone, get some lights, get a little podium, and yes, you can be a speaker immediately, right? And we talk so much about live streaming. I talk about it being the democratization of our ideas, right? That if you have a great idea, if you have that passion, if you have that energy, people will gravitate to it. People will want to support you because of who you are and what you're talking about, what you do. So there's nothing stopping you from being a speaker. If you can't afford to fly to San Diego, if you can't afford a suit and a tie, that live streaming is a great way to bring forth your ideas and show that what you have in your mind and the talent that you have, that's what's most important, not whether or not you can play the shell game of being able to talk yourself into a speaking gig at some point.
And I really like that you said that, because the speaking gig is not the new part. The speaking gig is not that's not the new terrain. The new terrain is how are we getting to that in that arena. It's kind of like like we were talking about before about writing a book. The new arena to be able to say, hey, look, I've got something to say and I'm going to put that in a book. And and I think that's why your book is the answer to that. This is actually demonstrated. I've read through your book and been able to go, obviously I tell you, the first two I went to, I was like, oh, let's see, Virginia, and then I was like, oh, well, I used to live in New Hampshire. So I was like, oh, and you actually went to Concord. And I was like, nice, right on,
Yeah.
And for me, it was that immediate, I could connect with what was in your book because you were writing about things that were interesting to me.
Yep.
As opposed to me going and saying, you know what, I really need to learn these 27 different steps on how to improve this thing. This is the book here. I'm trying to do it, but I keep holding it over the title. I'm like this, but
you'll get the hang of it,
right?
Feel free to continue.
It's all mirrored, right? But I mean, for me, the whole point of when I was reading through this book, it was like, I want to get to know Chris better in the experiences he's had. And that's when it clicked. I'm not joking. That's when it clicked, when I really started to understand your book, because now I can go over to your website and I can see the videos that you did. I can read about it in the book, and I know you better as almost like in a live event, even though this is in print. And even though the experience has happened now, what, a year, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, 2 years. And,
still fresh. But it's still fresh. That's my point.
And I wanted to quickly shout out the folks in Virginia. I'm wearing my Ready Kids shirt. I don't usually wear this shirt because it's a V-neck, and I don't think I look good in V-necks, but I had to put it on for today. Of course, Ready Kids is the organization that I worked with in Charlottesville, Virginia. And of course, Charlottesville has been very much in the news the last few days. And just my condolences to the young woman and her family who lost her life there this weekend. This has been terrible for our country the last few days. But to get back to what you were saying, John, I don't want to spin off on too far of a tangent. One thing that I've heard at the conferences that I've been to lately is that everyone's favorite topic is themselves, right? Everyone loves to hear people say their name. Everyone loves to hear, even on a bigger level, content that is directly relevant to them, right? And so when you go to 50 states, when you go around and you visit with all these different organizations, first of all, we were all kids at some point. I still consider myself very much a kid. If you've ever seen me live stream, you know that. But I'm in the state where you live, no matter where you were, right? So I think a lot of people share that same experience. That's why I try and sign the chapter of the book where the person lives to say, I know that chapter 47 is the most relevant chapter for you if you live in Virginia. I know that chapter 41 is the most relevant chapter if you live in Binghamton, right? So wherever you are, whatever you do, this book has some relevance to you, with the stories that are inside it. And I think that, again, the idea of having a book, it also allows you, again, if there were live streams from here, but this allows you to catch up on all those streams and get up to date. So now, like, oh, Chris Strub, that guy, the 50 States guy, I know him. I know all of his backstories, and now I can follow this guy and be on the same page with him.
Right. So as we have read through the book, we followed your live streams, whether it was on, Meerkat or Periscope or, maybe Facebook or one of the stories, I really think that one of the big connectors for you that really kind of got the ball going for you, so to speak, is that you went to where they were and you live streamed from them, not the other way, not them live streaming and then you connect that way. You went
Right.
to people.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a big, that's a big time commitment.
I know that one of the upcoming questions here in the chat, so I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, is in real life relationships.
Go ahead, answer. I think it's go for it, man.
And so for me, it's funny. Ironically, the answer I think that I tweeted was, I think I've met everyone except John Tripp, which is crazy to think about. But I really have met hundreds and hundreds of people because of live streaming and through live streaming. Chocolate Johnny and Brian Fanzo and Jeff Goldberg and Joe Wilson and Jen Nelson and all these people that we see and we connect with and we look at through our screens and through our computers. No matter how sharp the picture is or how good the sound is, and I know Jen is still mad at me. This is 2 streams in a row. I jumped on right before I was going to start with Jen, but this whole idea that we think we get to know people and we get to know who they really are through live streams, but you don't ever really get to know that person until you meet them in real life. And I'm happy to report on behalf of all the people that I've met that it's extremely rare to meet someone who is not exactly as they appear on these live streams. And that to me is the best part of live streaming, right? Is the fact that we really are getting to know each other, right? When I meet John Tripp, and it's inevitable that we will, it's not if, it's when, it's going to be exactly as if we've known each other for these previous years, right? Because we follow each other on social media, and specifically we follow each other on live streaming, right? So I've made it a goal. I've made it a high priority of mine to meet in real life as many people as possible, because that's what, to me, not just live streaming, but social media is about, right? That there's so much darkness, there's so much pain, there's so much anguish, there's so much stress on Twitter and on Facebook in the comments and all this baloney. But if you're watching this on Periscope right now, there's this amazing energy and there's this harmony and there's this emotion. And I'm sure that there's this conversation going on in the comments as well for people that are like, yeah, I get it. There's not these crazy, angry discussions and hate-filled vitriol. Like, getting to know people in real life is, to me, what it's all about. And so for me to do 50 states in 100 days, heck, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I would leave again tomorrow if I had the money, if I had the sponsor, right? And if I had the idea. That's how exciting it is to get to sit down in real life, sit down next to someone. And I do this a lot in my live streaming course too, right? Sit down and here's my second person here. But to get to know someone in real life, that's what it's about. And if not, this is as close, at least in 2017, as we're going to come.
So you bring up a really good point, because what you really, because you actually did this in real life. You put this into practice. And again, it was a couple years ago in the moment, but you're still seeing how the relationships have gone forward. So you met people 2 years ago. Now that doesn't mean that you stopped going places. That was just the kind of like the iteration of just going, you know what, guys, I'm going out there. I'm going to meet you wherever you are. And I know you've gone to conferences and, you've traveled and you've done speaking and now, and so that's getting you in front of other people. But the real base was, I went to where you're at, but that was just the start,
right?
Relationships kept going, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's bad that I know the questions in advance, John, because I'm going to continue to jump ahead. But the relationship that I have with Sarah McDowell, which is right after the Virginia chapter. So you get to West Virginia and you learn about Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Central West Virginia. Sarah has become, and she was someone that I hadn't met or even really spoken to before I got there to Charleston. Sarah has become my biggest advocate by far She was my co-host for the Facebook Live work that we did at the Big Brothers Big Sisters of America National Conference. And so that's all because of that in-person relationship that I built during that trip. And I think the other fun idea to realize here, John, I finished that trip in 100 days. That doesn't mean that everyone else finished the trip in 100 days. You know what I mean? Like it's not Chris's trip anymore. It's our trip. It's the live streaming trip, right? And the fact that John, read this book this summer, right? And now maybe someone watching this stream is going to watch this, get their book tomorrow, and they're going to read it next week, right? You experience things on your own time, right? So the idea of live streaming, we're here live. It's about 3:30 on a Wednesday afternoon, but someone could watch this next month or next year, right? And someone is going to watch this 6 months from now and say, oh, my business really needs to get on this live streaming thing. This whole live streaming concept, maybe we should check it out, right? And the idea of being consistent and the idea of creating awesome content on the go, like when you see what John Tripp, what Jen Nelson, what Rachel Moore have done with Let's Live Stream, and all of a sudden you wake up in 2018 and you say, oh, we really need someone like that. Let me call John Tripp and back the truck up with a pile of money to see if I can get that guy to come work for me or represent my brand at this event or whatever it is, right? That we're all experiencing life at our own rate, and everyone is all waiting for me to finish this answer so John can talk again at their own rate as well.
No, you put it right where the technology is actually, it's not getting in the way, it's actually helping promote the relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's not about, and I hate to say it like this because not everybody agrees with me on this, but it's really not about the content. It's not the fact that you wrote a book. It's not that, because it's not the book, Chris Strub. It's not that you visited all 50 states. It's that you went to and you met all of those people, and you were just using this and live streaming, and now you have your YouTube channel. Those are all just the methods of connecting better relationships. And I don't think a lot of people really understand. They let the content come first instead of going, how could I connect better? And they don't ask that right question.
I think sometimes we let the metrics come first too, right? We go to VidCon and we're all stacked up based on how many viewers we have and how many followers we have. And I don't measure my life that way, John. I don't measure my success in views or retweets or comments. I measure the impact that I have on people's lives, right? Like I know Crystal is watching this live stream right now, and I know that by me being here and by talking about my stories, talking about these organizations, that I can make an impact on Crystal's life. I know that Jen Nelson is watching behind the curtain right now, listening and saying like, oh man, like I get it, right? And so we get so caught up in, because that's what society dictates, right? What's our rating? How many viewers? How many retweets? Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Like if someone watches this Twitter chat, if someone watches this stream and they don't even buy the book, but they maybe go to my YouTube channel and they watch the video from the state that they're in, and that inspires them to act, that inspires them to make a donation to pay away the layaway, that inspires them to do something in their community, and this has been an enormous success. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, this chat got 300 views and this one got 1,000 views and there were 200 people in the audience. Forget that. Am I making a difference with you? As I look into, and I actually look into the camera now, and I'm so bad at doing that thing where everyone says, stop looking at yourself, look in the camera. That's me. They're talking to me, right? But I'm going to look into the camera right now and say, look, if I can make a difference, if this book can make a difference, if something that I've created on Snapchat or Instagram or Periscope has made a difference in your life, then what I'm doing is successful, right? And so when you think about that, when you think about it that way, and you realize you can make a difference in someone's life by pressing that button, you can make a difference in someone's life by going to an event and shaking their hand and listening to them and acting. That's what life is about, man. It's not about the numbers. It's about the impact.
That's right. And you've been able to really, I think, very succinctly put it. And I think more people are figuring this out, where chasing those numbers just it's not paying off with what they thought it would be. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for saying that just that way. I mean, that's you putting it out there. Now, Chris, we've talked about your book, I wanted to give you just a quick, I know that the tweet's coming out, don't worry about that. But for the live stream, for those guys, everybody that's watching, would you just tell us, just very briefly, just tell us
Yeah.
about your book and where we can get it?
Well, the book is available on Amazon. I wrote it in November 2015 and finally got it printed in March of this year. So it's written kind of as an ebook. And when you go through it, you'll see the beginning of every chapter. There's a photograph from the organization that I worked with. Again, I volunteered with different youth-related nonprofit organizations in all 50 states. So this is the Lincoln White House in Nebraska. Right below each photo, there's a quote. And the quote was actually written on my car, which I called the Honda Hotel because I slept in the car. And I asked every organization to give me their best piece of advice for a young person. So as you read through the book, not only are you seeing the visuals of people that I worked with, you're seeing quotes from all the different organizations that are expressing their best advice for a young person. So the whole book is kind of like chicken soupy for the soul. And then each chapter is about 2 to 4 pages. So the book is about 220 pages total. Each chapter gives an individual behind the scenes look at the visit that I made to a nonprofit organization in that state. And so every chapter is totally different, as John will tell you, no 2 chapters are the same in any way. And it's very much a mix. And this doesn't mean this was necessarily the right or the wrong way to write the book, but every chapter is a mix of what I learned at that nonprofit and the journey of getting there and the totality of all the stress and all the work that's gone in to get to chapter 30 and 40 and 48. But also the lessons that you can learn from all these different nonprofits. It's an interesting book, and it's not, methodical in explaining what nonprofits are about, but it's also not totally Kerouac on the road. This is just my journey. It's what I hope is a nice blend of the stories and the story behind the story.
I really like that you wrote the book that way. And I will say this was not I believe I have read a lot of different books. I've read really rough reads where, I mean, it's dense and you read a paragraph and you need to take a break and come back to it because you're just trying to understand what they're saying, because they're getting, and I've read other ones and I got done, I'm like, I have no idea what I read. Like, I understood it, I just don't know why I read it. You know what I really like about your book though? As I read it, I really did get that feeling that I was on the journey with you. And and I'll just use the Virginia and the New Hampshire one because I've been to both of those places. And I do think it's awesome that you're wearing the Virginia shirt today. I do. I think that is pretty awesome. But I was able to go through and I'm like, yeah, I know the Boys and Girls Club. I know that place. Or like, oh, that's really cool that you got that quote out. And a lot of people don't realize this, but if you go over to your website, you can find each one of those, and then there's that YouTube link that you can actually go and see that story. So in some ways, I mean, this is already like media linked on YouTube, which I think was awesome.
Yeah, no, I've referred to the book as sort of an encyclopedia of nonprofits around the country. It's certainly far from complete, because there's hundreds of thousands of nonprofits out there. But, as I think Christy Gillentine brought up, and I think I'd agree with her, one of my favorite quotes in the book, about wanting to change the world and not this is from Pittsburgh, not necessarily being able to change it all, but being able to make a change in my neighborhood, right? And I think when you read the book, it's likely that you'll read it, from your state's perspective. Oh, Chris came to my state and it was state 19 or whatever. But for me, my neighborhood is the country. My neighborhood is from sea to shining sea, right? I could appear tomorrow in Detroit and it would be like nothing to me. I love traveling. I love getting out there. Live streaming has changed the world for me in that way, that the country just feels that much smaller. And I hope that after you finish reading the book, wherever you are, whether you're in the States or in another country somewhere, that you feel the same way, that the country does feel just a little bit smaller to you, and that you realize that, and John, I don't mean to get too existential about it, but 2015 was a much different year than 2017. And this book, when you read back through it, it says it's a heartfelt hug for humanity on the cover there. And that's my biggest hope, right? Is that when you read this book, when you read the book now, you really start to recognize that there are some really wonderful people around the country that are doing some really amazing work in their own communities. And for me, I was just trying to be just trying to stitch it all together. You know, I was trying to make a quilt out of all these wonderful people, and you know, it came together into this bright yellow book.
That's a really great way to look at that. I appreciate you saying that in that way. And I know that that trip and writing the book, and now that's, it's opened up so that you're starting to do some speaking around some different conferences, and now you're getting in, the keynote request and
Yeah.
ask. I think that's really great, and I think that actually puts you in a place. And I wanted to ask this specific question
Mhm.
because if a lot of people don't know, how, and I'm the honest, I don't know the extent, but I know that you were involved with, Mario Armstrong and the Never
Yeah.
Settle show, and that was a different show. That was a different
Yeah.
broadcast than a lot of people are used to, even because it was well produced, had
Yep.
great guests, had people live involved. So I wanted to ask, our question four, which I think has already gone out on Twitter, but question for it, it says, how does social TV, and that's what I'm referring to, which is the, Never Settle show, but
Yeah.
how
Yeah. Yeah.
does social TV change all the viewers' participation? How does that change?
Boy, great question. And first of all, I love the Never Settle show. You know that. Jen knows that. Maybe we'll bring her on to show her giant big plastic banner that she got at the season finale, which was the coolest thing I've ever seen. That show is amazing. And if you're watching this, you need to be following Mario Armstrong. You need to be following that show. What they're doing, just like what John and Jen are doing, is blazing a trail, right? It's creating this new path for live streamers, for creators to raise the bar and to create something that uh, we like to call the mainstream, right? Not the mainstream media, not the evil, failing mainstream media, but the mainstream audience, right? That average person. You know, my mom who keeps peering over my shoulder. That's why I keep looking over there. My mom is like, "Are you done yet?" But you know, the idea that we want everyone to want to participate and want to be interested in what's going on in a live streaming show. Um, that's where this whole social TV idea is going to really bite into what everyone else is watching and what everyone else is doing with their time, right? Because the more, you know, and I'm a very egalitarian sort of live streamer, right? And I was on Ladies Go Live. What's it called? The men. Here, Jen's gonna whisper it in my ear. The
Man up, man
Man
up
Up
Friday.
Man Up Friday. See, that's so awesome. I have an executive producer there. I was on Man Up Friday with Jen a couple weeks ago, and I was live streaming just holding up my phone, right? And we talked a lot about this, right? That I'm more of the on the go guy. Even here, it took me like 90 seconds to get set up. Jen was freaking out, like, but I'm like, we're good, like it's gonna work, right? I think that the next evolution of that, and when I talk about you don't need all this technology to get started, you don't need all the technology to get started. But I think as we progress, I think as the industry progresses, you're going to want to improve your setup. You're going to want to have these tools at your disposal. You're going to want to make what you're doing better because it's only going to get more and more competitive, right?
Mhm.
And so if you want to create something that people are actually going to tune into for an hour, and this is a big ask. So everyone who's watching on Periscope, on Facebook, thank you. It's a long time to be watching a live stream, but that's why you need the Golden Gate Bridge beside you, which that's such a cool touch. Jen is awesome. You know, but you need those questions to pop up next to you. You need those photographs there. We need to be able to switch back between Chris and John and show the questions on screen. Like, you need to be able to evolve and to grow. And I think these tools and this whole social TV idea, and especially what Mario is doing with the Never Settle show, um, is such a great model for how all of us broadcasters can move
Mhm.
forward. Right? That we want everyone to get started. We want to, you know, what's the phrase I'm looking for? We want to throw out the line there as many times as we can to get as many people interested in live streaming. Press the damn button, right?
Right.
But as you get better, watch what John Tripp is doing. Watch what Ross Brand is doing. Watch what Todd Bergen is doing, and take some of those lessons and learn. Right? Hey, I never thought I'd be the guy that would buy $100 microphone off of Amazon. Right? Thank you, Mario Armstrong. Damn Amazon Prime. But these tools allow you to get better at what you're doing, and I think when you're competing against all those other high quality productions, creating stuff like what we've been talking about is an important next step.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate that. That's a really great insight into that. And I know for a fact, and I was watching some of the comments on the Periscope feed. You know, a lot of people were connected through the Never Settle show, through Mario or Armstrong, and you know, and not necessarily all like on the camera, on the red carpet, or in the show. And it was, I mean, I just think it's awesome. You know, you were there. I know Ross was there. Jen was there. You know, I mean, you guys were all, and these were all people within our community, and
Yeah.
it kind of really it put the way out there way right here where we were. It was real people. It's like, I know that guy, I know that guy, you know, I know that girl, and I know what they're doing, and they're doing it for real. And one of the things I want to just kind of segue into this, and it's just a couple of things. One, if you guys have not already been become a part of our community, you guys can go over to livetalknation.com, and that'll just take you right over to our Facebook page. It's a free Facebook community. I hope you guys can join. Not everybody likes the Facebook, and that's all right. But if you haven't already joined us on Facebook, make sure you just do that. It's a great way to connect in between shows, to ask questions. It really is a great place, is a great resource about social media, live streaming in particular, and then being able to connect with people like Chris, like Jen, and I guess I would just dare say the rest of our live streaming community that's really kind of circled around Let's Live Stream. So that's the first thing. Now, we have, because we're on a number of different platforms and things like this. A lot of people are watching on Periscope, and I want to say hi to you guys. Thank you guys for watching us, and I appreciate. I don't count them individually, but I do notice that you guys give us hearts, and I appreciate that. That's just, it's like the little attaboys. It's like the, hey, good job. Thanks for that. And I do see Terry Johnson. She is the community manager, the extraordinaire for our Live Talk Nation. And she has been such a help over the past year and a half that we've been doing this. So big shout out to her. So we've been doing that. And I want to move on because I think question number 5 just went live, just launched. And if you guys are tweeting this out, make sure if you guys are tweeting out, or if you're on Facebook and leaving comments, I can grab those and I will include you guys in the Storify event or story. It sounds weird to say Storify story, but that's what it is. The after show, when I grab all of your guys' comments and tweets and stuff like that, I will put it in our Storify and then send that out. So I wanted to say, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys are using the Let's Live Stream hashtag so that I can please find you. But question number 5, and Chris, I hope you're kind of ready for this. What advice would you give a nonprofit in using live streaming?
I couldn't possibly be more ready for this one, John.
I know it's a softball law, but I figured not everybody, and that's because it's not in my wheelhouse. I don't know that I could really answer this question the same way that you would. So
yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing holding up nonprofits from using live streaming is the fact that they're so busy, right? So the best piece of advice that I would give is to realize that it's a priority, and realize that this is the most direct way to communicate face to face with people in your community, right? In your audience, in your network, in an authentic fashion, right? So before you even press that button, you got to reevaluate what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. What is it that's taking up so much of your time and of your team's time that is preventing you from doing stuff like this? And evaluate and look at the merits of what we're doing. Like, if you are watching this from a nonprofit in Arizona somewhere and we've never met, think about the fact that I'm some guy sitting on my couch in New York, and you're listening to me and you're looking at me in the eyes. Again, now I'm actually looking in the camera, right? There you go, Jen Nelson. I'm actually looking in the camera and saying, this is a cool idea. This, check out my book, or here's my course, right? The fact that we're even in your thought process right now, the fact that you're even seeing or hearing this means that it matters, means that we're making a difference, right? And you can say, oh, Chris, you should have put on a shirt and tie for this live stream, or why are you wearing a hat? Whatever it is, the fact that live streaming has become so omnipresent with what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is totally a demonstration that it can be a very valuable tool for you, right? I mean, look at what we did there. Whoops. look at what we did there in San Diego. That's Kate Snow from NBC, right? And Kate Snow was singing our praises. She came to the Big Brothers Big Sisters of America national, the stage there, the Facebook Live stage, and we got to sit down and interview her live, right? So Kate Snow from NBC, that person that we all know and look up to, we put people, in the news media on a pedestal and say, oh, she's so famous. We'll never be famous like that. The worlds are coming together. This is a Seinfeld episode happening slowly, right? That this live streaming universe, as Ross Brand would call it, is quickly growing in attention, right? And we have at the push of a button, we have at our fingertips the ability to tune in to channels that are most important to us. So maybe you don't want to watch Nickelodeon or CNBC tonight, and you want to tune in to learn more about Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. Now you can do that. You can go to their Facebook page and you can learn about everything that we talked about at the national conference in San Diego, right? You can learn about what that program is about. And every nonprofit has this opportunity. So don't be intimidated and realize how scalable an opportunity this is. Realize how simple it is, right? That we press the button and we're live, and I had to get my headphones to work, but we press the button and we're live, and we're speaking to the universe about what we do. That is what your nonprofit has the opportunity to do right now.
That's great advice. It's so practical. And I know with nonprofits, having been, involved with them in the past, that's really, they're looking for something strategic, but something that they can actually implement now. And that's everything that you've both embodied, and it's the advice that you give out. And so I really appreciate that part of it. And there's one other question we have coming up, but I have one after that I didn't tell you about. That's actually for the community.
All right.
It's for everybody else. So you guys got to stick around, and it's about 10 minutes out ish. But I want all of you guys to be ready and to be thinking about it. Wow, what's this question? But it is a really important question, and it's a really important question because you are going to be helping Chris out in what he's doing.
Well, hey, John, I would think, just real quick, I think that this entire chat is going to help Chris out in what I'm doing, because I really can't wait to go back on Twitter, just like you will after this, and look at all the responses from the community and see what sort of advice they have for nonprofits, right? That this Twitter, I'm technically the guest, right? I'm on the screen, but a lot of people that I speak to, a lot of the people that I've met in this live streaming community are very supportive of causes in their areas, in their cities, in their towns. And so this is a constant learning process for me too. I can't wait to hear what you would suggest, or have you worked with a nonprofit, or better yet, can I help you move in that direction, right? Is what we're talking about today going to be that push for you to go visit Ready Kids in Charlottesville and say, hey, Jackie, I'd love to do a live stream with you, right? Or I'd love to show you how you can do this, or let's talk strategy for an hour. Let's get coffee,
See, I love that you say coffee. It's just, you said that and it just automatically connected. Now, not oddly enough, you've met the artist who made this mug. And I know you don't know who it is right off the top, but you've met Melissa Reyes.
Of course.
And this to me is one of those things. And I've got a good handful of these, and I love these kinds of mugs that people send me. And that this to me is one of those ways that I'm able to really connect with them, because it's something, and I use this every week. I don't want to say every day because I have a lot of mugs and I like to use almost all of them. So, don't tell anybody. Sometimes I just drink a little bit and then I just put it away and to get another one out. And then, but anyway, that's a personal problem that I have where I'll just do that to my coffee mugs. But this is a really good example.
Yeah, first and foremost, shout out to Melissa Reyes. She is wonderful. And what the team at Bubbler Media is doing, congratulations to everyone there, to Jen and to that entire team. They are fantastic. But I think the bigger point off of that, John, is this, that these physical manifestations, the coffee mugs, the photographs, and I've gotten Christmas cards. I've gotten people to send me their books. People will send me a shirt. Brands will send me stuff. Right? These physical manifestations are one thing, right? It's really great to be able to physically show you know, and you've got all this great stuff behind you on the shelves and everything behind you as well. It's one thing to be able to
Mhm.
see it and hold it and feel it, but a good live stream and a good live streamer makes you feel like they're there with you in the room every single time anyway. You know what I mean? I want everyone watching this Periscope stream right now, everyone watching this on Facebook, like, I'm here with you. The name of my company is I Am Here. And that's not just because I love traveling and love being in physical places, but I also want to be there with you. I want you to feel the energy, feel the emotion, feel that character, and
Mhm.
feel that passion, and not just feel it right now, but when you press that button, I want you to do the same thing to your audience, right? Because again, at the end of the day, we're all trying to inspire action, right? We're all trying to inspire you to do something, you know, and we all have our own something. We all define what that is differently. Some of us want to work with big brands. Some of us want you to buy our book. Some of us want you to hire us as speakers. Whatever that something might be, you're not going to want to do that something unless you feel that genuine connection with the person on the other side of the screen. And I've always tried to stress that more than anything else, right? That it's not so much what you're talking about, it's how you're talking about it. How are we delivering that message? Live streaming is that perfect way if you have that passion, if you believe so strongly that you have the best damn chocolate on the planet and you run Perfection Chocolates and Sweets in Sydney, Australia, I'm going to believe what you say when you say it in that way, right? You can be like, oh, I sell some chocolate over here, blah, blah, you know, like, do you want some? Blah, blah. Or you can deliver that message in a way that makes me believe in what you do and who you are and what you're about. That's what a great live stream is about. That's what a great live streamer is about. And that's why I think John, Jen, Ross, Terry, all these names that we keep ticking off, like all, you know, we could sit here all day long, but everyone that's doing this and that's practiced their craft and is fine tuning their craft is getting to that point where we're going to achieve that something that we're after. And it's really cool to know that everyone in this community wants to help everyone else get there.
That's a really good point with, talking about how we're building community, and we're just going to keep right on, because I know the question number 6 is out there. But
Yeah.
before we actually answer that one, we had a question from Periscope, and it was, and we'll answer this one because I think it actually goes with question number 6 when it comes out. But the question from Periscope was, what nonprofits are setting the best example, in using live stream, in your opinion?
So can I break a little news here? Is that okay? Can
You
I
can
break
do
some news?
that. Yeah.
I'm heading to Louisville next month to work with the Community Foundation of Louisville for their Give for Good Louisville Day on September 14th. So I'll be live streaming for a good portion of that 24-hour stretch and working with over 600 nonprofits to raise. Last year they raised over $4.3 million, and they were promoting that event using this series called the Give for Good series. So if you go to the Community Foundation of Louisville, I believe it's facebook.com/CF Louisville, and the marketing person over there is Tara Barabo. And she has taken these lessons and taken this idea of live streaming and run with it like no one else that I have seen in the entire country, right? That they've created this series called the Give for Good series. I believe it runs every Friday, and they're highlighting the different nonprofits in Louisville that are going to be part of this event. That is a killer way to approach live streaming from a nonprofit perspective, right? Identifying what that story is that keeps people coming back and tell it on an ongoing basis, right? That would be my second piece of advice, is be consistent, right? Be consistent with what you're doing. I think the other one that I would shout out real quick, and I know we're crunched for time now, John, because I talk way too much, would be the Kanawha Charleston Humane Society in Charleston, West Virginia. And it's this young woman named Jessie Schaefer. And she does a ridiculously good job of bringing together this community. And we talk so much about the importance and value of building a community, that when they go live during the day, they are getting hundreds and hundreds of people watching these live streams that feel so passionately, and they're having these conversations. There's tons of engagement, people sharing left and right. And I'm like, Jessie, you're a rock star. You know, you might not be part of this little revolving solar system of live streamers that we've built here, But what the Kanawha Charleston, I'll spell it out in the comments after the stream, et cetera, et cetera. Kanawha Charleston Humane Society is doing in Charleston, West Virginia, and the Community Foundation of Louisville, and of course, Louisville, Kentucky. Those two nonprofits are destroying it. And there is such a great opportunity out there for every other nonprofit to step into their niche and to own it, just like Kara is and just like Jesse is.
So I know you answered two questions with that, because you just answered question number 6. And I was watching everybody and I was catching up on Periscope, because you know, in the question number 6, for those of you guys that didn't know, it was, you know, what nonprofit would you like to work with? And it sounds like, you know, like you've been working in that direction and it's happening. But the question that I wanted to ask everybody else, and this is for everybody watching on Periscope, you know, and this is for everybody that watches on the replay. It doesn't really matter where, at what point you're watching us, live or on a replay. It doesn't matter. Drop it in the comments, answer it, preferably if you could tweet it, or just drop it in the comments on the you know, below. What nonprofit organization deserves Chris Strub's help? And this is not a question for Chris, because he already got question number 6. That was all him. This is your question, community. What nonprofit organization deserves Chris Strub's help? What nonprofit do you think that we could try to connect with him with as a community members? Because there's a lot of people out there that could just benefit just by meeting him, having some time with him, or like he was just sharing, bringing him on as a major part of what that next step that they're taking. And so I really challenge all of you that are watching on the live and on replay, name it, tag them, let them know, throw the idea out there, because you know what? That's how it really starts. And that's how we build community and help each other.
I appreciate that. And I know I'm not supposed to be answering this question. So I'll keep quiet, but you know, I'm really grateful for this opportunity, John, and thank you for asking this of the community. Anyone who knows me, who's seen me before, or, you know, from now at this point forward, knows that I want to help as much as I can, sometimes to a fault. Sometimes I help too much, you know, and put others first. And that's just me, you know, that I want to give and give and give as much as I can. And, you know, I'm here to help, you know, that I'm always trying to be a resource for any organization that needs it. So if there's anything that I can do, any questions that I can answer, I encourage everyone either watching this live or on replay to reach out, you know, put in the comments, of course, here, or just reach out directly to me and say, hey, I saw you on Let's Live Stream and I had this question, or what should I be doing here? Or what's our best strategy for this? Like, this is my passion. I hope that comes across, as I was talking about a minute ago. And, you know, I just see this infinite, this infinite black hole of opportunity. Black hole is the wrong metaphor, but this whole entire universe of opportunity for nonprofits to step into. And I want there to be more Karas. I want there to be more Jessies. I want there to be more Sarah McDowells, right? Like, I in this climate, in 2017 especially, we need more organizations sharing their stories. We need to be amplifying people that are doing good things. We need to be amplifying organizations that are helping communities turn things around, right? Whether it's youth related or not. You know, that these stories, every single one of these stories deserves to be told. And everything that I do, every action that I take, especially this year, focusing more and more on the I Am Here brand and teamstrub.com and everything, but trying to push these organizations in that direction to say, look at what John Tripp is doing. Look at what Ross Brand is doing. Look at the attention that we're gathering as a community here. You deserve that attention. You have a community that wants to support you, and you can do it by pressing a button. So don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Don't be intimidated by the microphones, the lights, the cameras. Be yourself. Share your story, because someone needs to hear it, and you're going to change someone's life by putting yourself out there.
Well, Chris, I got to say, man, thank you so much for being on the show today. If you guys haven't already, go over to it's teamstrub.com. I'm just going to send them there. That's where I'm going to tell them to go. Go over to teamstrub.com. You can find out more about it. You can get the book from there. And I'm going to tell you this because I'm actually doing my review right now for you, Chris. You're going to get a video review out of this, and I'm going to send that over to you. But if you guys do get the book, do us a favor, and do a video review and send it over to Chris and just tag him in it. Let him know. It's a fun way to build community. It's a fun book to read. It's an easy book to read. Because you're connecting with real people in real places. And if I can't say it enough, you guys grab the book and participate and be part of the community. If you and now as we kind of close out here, and I think you guys have all, if you have any other questions, please either tweet them out or something like this. We'll even after the show, we'll try to you'll try to answer the questions and things like this. But guys, I do want to say, Chris, thank you so much for being a guest today. This was a blast. I really love this. I love having guests on. I love being able to talk about things, and especially things that you're really passionate about. So thank you.
John, it's always a pleasure. I know we have a hard stop. I would add really quick that if you do a video review of the book, you are entered to win an in-person visit from me. So if you do a video review of the book that I can use on my YouTube channel, my Facebook page, you are entered to win an in-person, totally free visit from me, no matter where you are around the world. That is my way of demonstrating my appreciation. It's a very emotional week for me as we're 5 days away from the 2-year anniversary, the end of the trip. So to be able to be here talking about it, 2 years later with someone as intelligent and someone as talented as you, John, and Jen behind the scenes is doing a ridiculously good job. And Jen, thank you so much as well. You guys are the best, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate it. And guys, as we do close out, I always say this: like, subscribe, comment. Just as we are growing the community and as we put as good comments and trying to share out things that I think that you guys really enjoy as part of the Let's Livestream community. You can go over to letslivestream.com, sign up, just join our newsletter, and you guys will get the updates and things like this, or follow us on Twitter. But most of all, guys, thank you for being here, and be sure to join us next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern for our next topic. And you got to pay attention to our Twitter to catch what that is. All right, with that, guys, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a great week. I can't wait to see you guys later.